And then we revived him and said it worked. And that's when I knew what I was doing really worked. So, as always, you want to have it all set up. So, again, let's say you want to mount. There's different ways to mount. One of the worst ways to mount is like this, okay? Because, number one, if he lifts his left leg, I'll get stuck in a half guard or a hook, or I go back in a half guard. So this is probably one of the worst ways to mount unless you see an opening and then you mount real quick, okay? A nice way to mount is with a good amount of pressure. You have your underhook up under this arm, get here, and then you walk it back, and then you can just mount really nicely here, all right? Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna sit up, let my swim settle. Thank you. Dripping his face, mouth, eyes. I'm gonna open this collar, and I'm gonna feed it right here. I want to get his head off the mat, so I want to take the slack out, and I want to push on his sternum. Okay. Usually the reaction is I'll put the arms right here. Okay. One thing you got to be careful is typically this is when you get rolled in that direction. All right. What I want to do is I'm going to be stable here, and even if he tries to roll me, I need to be able to withstand that potential. But I'm not just going to sit here with the hand on the collar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my head across to that side and put my top arm, the left one, on his shoulder right here. And then I'm going to grab the handle. Next one, I'm going to pull him up off the mat, and I'm going to aim my left shoulder onto this mat as my head goes to the mat right here, and my knees go wide. I want to literally lift his shoulders off the mat. The key here is your left shoulder should be going to his forehead to push it down while you pick up. So imagine, if I'm doing this, but his head is pushed down the forehead, it puts a lot of pressure on his cervix. Cervical vertebra, right? Listen, I'm not an astrologist, but pull the slack out, pressure the chest here. While his hands are down here, I move my head across here. There's going to be a little fold right here, and you don't want to be here because you want the left wrist by his carotid. I want to pick him up, and I'm going to plant my forehead right back in that red spot as my left shoulder looks for his face. I plant the shoulder on his face, and I'm doing this with the shoulder through his face. Or as Khabib says, shoulder face. Open here, and I want this wrist to be straight. I don't want it to be all bent like this. Okay? So you'll have to kind of fix their geese. So, bit that collar, right here. A little bit of pressure right here. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what you want. As his head comes up. I don't want it to be here and go push. I want this action right here. As I go here, I move my head to the right and moving him to the left. So this hand moves him to the left, move to the right, grab right here. And I want my wrists together, pull him up off the mat. So, and my left shoulder is going for his face. Here, left plant. My hips go low. As I try to pick his shoulders up, that's a really super tight choke. It's the same thing from the bottom guard. We're here. And for whatever reason, he rolls me here. It's a horrible angle, but it's still the same. Here, You have to make sure your feet aren't out like this, because you need to control his hips. And lift your shoulders off the mat. And then turn that way. Sure. Give him a nice here, and then watch the shoulder on the face, hips, and I pull him up. Off. All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Hold up for somebody similar sizes, different ranks.